And number 10, the big one, the one that'll 10x your life. Hello, welcome to BKhunga, the place, man, for entrepreneurs, where we deform the norms surrounding entrepreneurship. So last week I had a post going on in my Twitter. If you aren't following me on Twitter, I'll leave my leave my username up there. But the poll was saying whether or not I should be putting out content on the regular every single day. The majority of people said yes. So I'm gonna give my audience what they want. I'll be posting content every single day, 5 p.m. GMT plus 200. If you want to know what that is in EST time, I'll put it on top right here. So EST GMT plus 200. Anyway, so today we're talking about the 10 habits that separate the rich from the poor. Yeah, we'll put the rich people to the side and the poor people to the side. Anyway, number 1 is clear written goals. Now everybody has clear written goals because everybody is told to write down their goals, all the way from self-help gurus, financial gurus, motivational gurus in general, fake gurus. But the difference between the rich and the poor is that the rich are actually disciplined into taking action and trying to turn those goals into a reality, where the poor just write down the goals and leave them there to collect dust, never to think about them. It's crazy. Let me ask you, how many of you made a New Year resolution and actually kept to it? Tell me down in the comment section below. I'm really curious on hearing what you guys have to say. Number 2, have a tracking system for your money. Do you know where every single dollar of your money went this month alone? Probably don't. If you don't, you're probably this side, the poor middle class side, and not on the rich side, because the rich have a tracking system that they follow to actually know where their money is going and where every single dollar will be spent. I don't know if I'm making sense, but that basically means that you need to understand that when money comes to you, every time I get income, I separate it into 3 categories, and those categories are savings or investments, living expenses, and fun. Do whatever you want with money. And the thing about that is so important that you need to understand where your money is going. For me, for example, 80% of my income goes into savings or investments, 15% goes into living expenses, and 5% goes into fun. Do whatever you want with money. Now, it's okay if your percentages won't be the same as mine. I totally understand. My saving or investment percentage is that high because I'm still young, so I still have a lot of time to actually do this and live frugally. But if you're 40 years old, I wouldn't suggest having your percentages similar as mine, because, well, you need to have your own apartment, you know. But the difference is that the poor don't really know where their money is going, whereas the rich do. The problem about that is that if you don't know where your money is going, then you won't know whether you're spending too much on one thing that is useless and not saving enough, because your fun money, which is, for example, Netflix, your Netflix subscription, your subscriptions on other websites, I don't know what they could be, maybe buying a lot of coffee. I don't have a problem with people who buy coffee. I mean, it's just a couple of dollars. If you're buying $20 coffee, do you, man? If you love coffee, then just buy it. Just make sure you budget for it and know that it's in your 5% fund money. In my percentages, I'll put them up. But yeah, you need to know where your money is going, and a lot of poor people don't know where their money is going, and it slowly kills their bank account without them even knowing where their money is going. So I feel it's very important to know where your money is going, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. You got to treat your life and money management as a business. Otherwise, it's down the drainers for you. Anyway, number 3, disciplined about saving money. Yes, I think I might go into more detail about this as the steps go down, but disciplined about saving money in terms of, for me, in my 80%, I'll put it up here, my 80%, I know that 80% isn't just gonna stay there in the bank forever and ever until I'm 60 something. I'm saving for a reason. I'm saving so that once it's big enough, I can take it out of the bank and put it in an investment, because you can't just let your money sit there in the bank. If you're just saving to save, then know that inflation will weaken your money and make it worthless as times go on, because the inflation rate in my country is, I'll probably show you what the inflation rate of my country is here versus the average interest rate of putting your money in the bank. So it is a very big difference, really, because your money, instead of helping you by sitting there in the bank, is actually hurting you in the process. Number 4, have a savings account in a totally different bank. Why I say this will be a quick one. Why I say this is because it'll be much harder for you to take out the money that's in your savings account if it's in a different bank. Why this is because in my country, trying to take money out of your savings account and trying to put it into another account or trying to pay with it would probably take about 2 to 3 or 4 days at max, depending on whether you did it during the weekend or what, because money wouldn't get transferred during the weekend to another bank unless you're doing it from like your account to account, if both the accounts are in the same bank. Hope I'm making sense. But anyway, number 5, value equity over cash. Now this is really, really, really important to me. It actually ties in with number 3. Why I say this is because people who just save money in the bank are valuing cash over equity, and the rich value equity over cash. Now I'll explain this into more detail, and I'll explain it as an example. Would you rather have R1 million in real estate equity or R1 million in cash? Now a rich person would choose to have R1 million in equity. Why? Because real estate is a long-term game, and it is also an asset that generates you income. If it is a rental property or you're renting it out to a business for commercial use, as long as it's generating income for you, it's a cash flow asset. So the thing about a cash flow asset is it not only giving you money, that in the long term its value is also growing, which means that the equity of the real estate is also growing, which means that it might be R1 million in equity right now, paying you 10,000 rand a month, but 20 years down the line it'll be worth 1.3 million rand in equity. Whereas if we jump into the cash side, if I gave you R1 million in cash right now, it wouldn't generate any income for you, number 1, and number 2, 20 years down the line, 10 years down the line, it'll probably be able to buy you what 600,000 or 500,000 rand can buy you right now. So it decreases in value and also doesn't provide you any cash flow, whereas in equity it provides you cash flow as well as increase. Inflation is a very dangerous thing. You need to understand that and know what to do with your money. And it also brings me to habit number 6, which is the rich invest savings into cash flow assets. This actually also ties in with number 3. I think a lot of things I want to start tying in with number 3. And the rich invest savings into cash flow generating assets, because you can't just leave your money in the bank and save to save. You need to be saving for a reason, saving to invest. And once the opportunity presents itself to invest into a cash flow generating asset like real estate, business, dividends, shares, once an opportunity presents itself to invest in those cash generating assets, you need to take your money out of the savings account and actually invest into that opportunity, because you know what, not only will it generate income, that asset not only will that asset generate income, but the great thing is that in the long run it'll also start compiling and growing itself, which means 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, I'm sorry, I like to think in decades, in terms of decades. I don't know why. It's just a habit. But you need to understand, cash generating assets not only generate you income, but they compile and grow as time goes on. Number 7, most wealthy people live below their means. Now, in order to be able to save, you need to actually have income coming in that you can take and save. Now, a large portion of the poor and middle class aren't able to do this because they're out there getting debts and loans to buy high-end cars, high-end clothes, so that they can look rich instead of actually becoming rich. Now, most wealthy people, you can look at the Forbes top 10 or top 50, for example, and tell me which one of those people live above their means, because they understand that income needs to be able to be saved and invested. And if you're, instead of saving and investing your money, using it, what you're actually doing is, well, what these guys are actually doing, the poor and middle class, by getting liabilities to get these fancy cars, fancy clothes. What they're actually doing is decreasing their income. And when they decrease their income, they're decreasing the amount of money they're able to save. It's like a rippling effect. Now, number 8, they use leverage. The rich and wealthy use leverage, but not just any sort of leverage. Other people's knowledge, other people's money, and other people's time. Now, we'll go through all 3 of these in chronological order. I have no idea what I meant by that. But anyway, other people's knowledge. Now, the wealthy understand that you can't be a jack of all trades. If you're good at one thing, stick to that one thing and have other people's run and do what they're good at. Everybody is good at their own thing, and it's okay not being able to be good at what you know, because you know what? You can hire someone who knows what you don't know and probably enjoys being able to do that. You know, I can't help someone out if they're sick or bleeding because I'm not a doctor, but I would hire and pay someone who has spent 7 or 12 years learning how to do that, because if they're learning how to do that, they probably enjoy it more than I do. Other people's time. Now, Bill Gates and Elon Musk and Warren Buffett earn more money per day than the average American or South African earns per year. I'll probably show all the graphs on the screen right now, but the reason why they're doing that is because the poor and middle class, they sell their time for money, whereas the rich sell value for money. Now, this is a very insane difference, because the poor and middle class are only able to sell 24 hours at most, and we all know that they aren't working for 24 hours a day. They're probably working for 15 or 17 at the maximum hours per day, selling their time for money, which means every day they're only able to sell 17 hours or 15 hours or 16 hours. Whereas the rich, on the other hand, are able to do way more than that because they leverage other people's time so that they can provide value to other people to bring money to them, because they're selling value instead of time. And in order to do that, they leverage other people's time. Insane, right? I know. When I learned this, it was like a light bulb moment. But anyway, leveraging other people's money, i.e., debt, investments. Yeah, debt or investments. But right now we're going to talk about debt, because we've been talking about investments. So right now I want us to talk about debt. There are two types of debt: good debt and bad debt. Now the guys on this side, the poor and middle class, they have bad debt. And the middle class, sadly for them, they have bad debt, which they assume is good debt. But let's face it, it's not. They've been told that to buy a house, get a loan to buy a house, is good debt, and it's the smart thing to do. And when they do that, their house becomes an asset. Well, the problem is their house doesn't become an asset. Their house becomes a liability, because instead of putting money into their pocket, their house is taking money out their pocket. And now, as well as tying in with the bad debts, such as getting debt to buy a car that you'll just drive around, and you're buying it to impress others instead of buying it to because it makes you feel good. You buy it because you want other people to tell you how good you look in it. I don't understand that, how people would spend money to impress others instead of impressing and helping themselves feel good. That's the key to happiness. Doing things that you enjoy instead of doing things to impress others. Let's jump into the good debt. Good debt now. Good debt is debt that will bring money into your pocket. What I mean by this is that I understand that debt, if anybody, I don't care if you Grant Cardone, Elon Musk, or Dan Locke, Graham Stephan, I'm naming people on YouTube now. I don't care if you're any of those people. Too much debt will kill you, because you won't be able to pay it off. Now, the rich understand this, and what they do instead is get debt that they know they can take the money and invest it into something that will be more profitable, and they'll be able to pay off the debt as well as earn some profit from that in the long run. This could be, for example, real estate. I use real estate in a lot of examples because real estate is like one of the main contributors to people becoming wealthy. A very large portion of the wealth population actually became wealthy through real estate. Now, real estate, if I had to go get a loan to buy rental properties, I'll take that loan, I'll buy rental property, and the rent I earn from that property will pay off the debt. And in the long run, the equity in the house builds up, as well as the fact that a couple of 10 or 20 years down the line, the debt that I owe to the bank will be finished, which means I'll be done paying off the loan, and the income that comes from that rental property will be coming straight into my pocket, plain as cash. As well as the fact that the rental property would have increased in value. So it's basically free money if you have the patience to reap the rewards. Because here is a very big issue. I think it links with number 9. I think it links with number 9 very well, because I said that it's basically free money if you're willing to wait. But people on this side, the poor and middle class, they want instant gratification instead of delayed gratification. That hurts them a lot, because instead of planting the seeds to grow a tree and eat from the tree, eat what the tree produces, instead of doing that, they say, I don't want to wait for the tree to grow, and they eat the seed instead of waiting for the tree to grow and eating what the tree produces. That's very problematic, because, as I said, it links with number 9. The wealthy spend the residual, not the principal. Meaning that when I take the money that I've invested, instead of buying cars with the money I've invested or anything like that, I take the principal, the money I've saved to invest, and I put it into a rental property, and that rental property will generate residual income. I hear a lot of people call it passive income. I never understood the point of passive income, because in order to be passive means it has to be happening by itself. I totally understand you could put systems in place to make it passive, like having someone manage the property themselves and having them talk to someone else if there's an issue, instead of them talking to you if there's an issue. Then you could say that it's passive income, but you still need to put a whole lot of work in it before it becomes passive income. But once it is passive income, you could also call it residual income, which means that instead of spending your investments, you spend your cash flow, your passive income, because you know what? Next month, that same passive income you spent, it will come back into your bank account and you'll hear the notification. So if I'm getting 10,000 Rand on rental property, a property that I bought to rent it out, next month I want to get that same 10,000 Rand, and the month after that, and the month after that. Instead of taking my 500,000 Rand that I've been saving for a couple of months to invest it into rental property, and then once it's gone, it's gone. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm gonna have to save all over again. I never understood the point of people who would spend their principal instead of spending their residual income. But anyway, that's just a thought. And number 10, the big one, the one that'll 10x your life, is how they make their money. Now we explained earlier in the video how people on this side, the poor and middle class, they make their money through selling their time. That's how they make their money. They make their money through selling their time, selling the amount of hours they put in their work. Whereas the people on this side, the wealthy and successful, they make their money through value, through providing value. Now you may be asking, how do they do that? What is the steps of being on this side? How they make their money? Well, I'll lay it down in lay terms for you in 3 simple steps that they do. They create the product, they market the product, and then they sell the product. Now I'm gonna scratch these away and put that one right here. Sell. Because if you can't sell your product, then nobody's gonna buy your product. That is probably the biggest thing for any of them to be able to learn, how to sell. If you go into any big retail store, wholesale store, and you see all those products right there, all those clothes, those foods, whatever you see in there, and whatever you buy, if not a single one thing is yours, you're probably not making your money the right way. Because you are what is making them wealthy, because you are buying their products. Selling products or services like a hairdresser, or just selling a normal product like clothes if you're into retail. Whatever it is, you probably require selling. Most of us are selling all the single time, even though it doesn't relate to money, In finance, you're probably selling someone to buy your idea. In an argument, when you're arguing, you're trying to convince the other partner to believe what you say is correct and what they say is wrong. You're trying to sell that person your idea, your perspective. When you're trying to get a child to quiet down and you tell them, I'll give you a sweet if you keep quiet, you're selling them. You're making them keep quiet in return for getting a sweet. Selling is in our everyday lives, whether you like it or not, whether you're a salesperson or not a salesperson. You need to be able to sell regardless. So those were the habits that make the difference between the wealthy and successful and the poor and middle class. Now tell me in the comments, which one of these habits are you actually going to start taking action into? Because at least taking action into one of these habits, just one, will change your life. And if you don't believe me, well, hit a dislike. Tell me why you disliked the video, why you dislike what I said. If you loved what I said, hit the like button, subscribe, join the family of entrepreneurs. If you're an entrepreneur, join the family, join the journey. We're trying to deform the norms surrounding entrepreneurship and trying to change the world one entrepreneur at a time, one subscribe button at a time. And until I see you guys in a minute, thank you, dear.